Good morning, guys. Welcome to Professor Vipin's YouTube channel. Now, in today's video, we are not going to talk exactly about how something that happened in the political world. We are going to understand how a CBI investigation is done. Now, this is one of the most interesting pieces of research I was able to discover, and let's understand how the CBI works. The reason I'm discussing this is because of the Mamata Banerjee and the CBI investigation that is going on in Bengal about the Sharada group of companies. Now, in the previous video, I had talked to you about how the Sharada group of companies had in fact conducted one of the biggest frauds in India, where they had in fact taken hundreds and thousands of crores away from investors, promising them very high returns, and then, of course, defrauding them and eventually closing the business. So, recently the CBI has taken over this case. Let's understand how the CBI, in fact, is going to conduct this investigation, not just in the Sharda group of companies, but in general. If any case is transferred to the CBI, how is it that these guys are going to handle the matter? Now, in what circumstance does the CBI take over a case? Now, the CBI can take over a case which is usually of something which has a national interest, and the scale of corruption is in fact something very immense. Now, in such a case, a situation that is the charges will be transferred, the case would be transferred to CBI if in case the government, that is the central government or the state government, says that yes, the case is now going to be handled by CBI, or in another case where the Supreme Court of India or the High Court of a certain state says this matter should be handled by CBI. Now, the CBI usually has a 6-step process in order to handle this issue. So the first step, or rather, let's just quickly look at what the 6 steps are before I break down into what each of these 6 steps are all about. Step 1 is the plan of investigation. Step 2 is the investigation process. Once it's completed, they will in fact investigate the scene of the crime. Step 3 is to ascertain all the facts and circumstances pertaining to that case. Step 4 is the discovery and arrest of individuals. Step 5 is the collecting of evidence. And step 6 is to formulate expert opinions. Now, one might wonder, why is it that discovery and arrest happens right away at, say, step 4? Shouldn't it happen in the last step? So we'll get to that. So first one is the plan of investigation. And by the way, folks, I have a long list of things here that we can, which is very interesting, that we'll be going through today. So the first one is the plan of investigation, wherein the plan of investigation will be based on looking at what is the overall the set of things that you need to do in this case. If you guys have studied this in maybe business studies or in your in any business class, you would see that planning is the first step. And in planning is the first step, you see that defining the problem in any plan is very crucial. So here too, when you talk about plan of investigation, you look at what are the various things you need to go through in the entire CBI investigation. So, for example, the first one is the FIR content. The first information report that has been filed with the police authority, you need to see what are the detailed set of things that have gone through in the FIR. This is one thing that you may have heard, maybe in your law class, or maybe your parent would have told you that if you're filing an FIR, you need to give the absolute details. Like, for example, where did this crime happen? What time did it happen? Who are the parties who are involved in this? How much of money was lost? How much of valuables were lost? All these things need to be given in an FIR. And later on, you can't change your FIR and say that, no, it wasn't like this, it was like that. What is the first information that was given is very critical for assessment of this investigation. Then the various documents that you need to seize. So in case of, say, the Sharada group of companies, I'm sure there are countless accounting papers that they need to go through. The witnesses, who are the people whom you can talk to regarding what has happened. The searches that need to be conducted. Now, in the Sharada group of companies, there will be a lot of places where, in fact, maybe meetings were held, documents were exchanged, money has moved here and there. The parties who are involved, maybe the managers of Sharada group of companies, you may have to raid their homes, you may have to, in fact, go through their bank accounts and see what is the various places where they may have laundered money. All these things, in fact, would be the different searches they'll have to conduct. Now, step two is once the plan of investigation has been made, the next step is to see the spot of the crime. Now, in case of the Sharda group of companies, I'm sure that they would have various branches where this chit fund system was in fact going on, and they may have to go through these different branches to see, look into their computers and maybe look into their accounting books and see what is the way, in fact, this whole money laundering system actually happened. So this is where they need to see the spot of the crime. Now, in case of financial frauds, it becomes very challenging because today is the era where technology is so useful and you'll be moving money around continuously in the electronic format. So it's very hard to pinpoint and say, yeah, this is the exact place where the money movement actually happened. Let me give you an example of a sort of a legal fraud that happens by Google. Now, if you are a person who's putting an ad on Google, you would pay, say, from India, and I'm currently in Bangalore, I would pay it in India from India to Google Ireland. That money goes from Google Ireland to Google Netherlands. From Google Netherlands, it goes to the Cayman Islands. From the Cayman Islands, it goes to Bermuda. From Bermuda, it eventually goes to America. This complex tax route system, this complex movement of money is to simply avoid payment of taxes significantly. And by the way, this is considered perfectly legal. So if you're looking at a financial fraud, you have to investigate the movement of money in so many places. But you can see here, for any authority, not just CBI, gets very challenging simply because of the amount of things you need to go through in order to, in fact, see where money is actually moving. And that's one big challenge that they're going to face in the Sharda group of companies. Because if you remember that video that I had done, there were hundreds of companies in the Sharda group of companies. It isn't just one or two that they need to go through. So you can imagine when there are hundreds of companies, how money would be moving from all these different corners. So in the CBI manual, it's considered the scene of the crime or an event under CBI investigation can be any place through which an investigation officer can get crucial evidence. So, like I said, in case of financial fraud, it can be several places where these guys will have to go through in order to, in fact, get the important information. And now, step three is to ascertain all facts and circumstances. Now, you say that Sharda group of companies committed this big fraud. Now, you need to investigate what are the different places where, in fact, the fraud may have happened. What are maybe the advertisement Sharda group of companies has used? What is the accounting system that they may have used? So in this case, the investigating officer is allowed to take assistance of an officer of a different department who might be well versed with facts and circumstances. Now, it's not necessary that the assigned investigation officer in this case is a person who has had experience with respect to financial frauds. He can take investigation, he can take assistance from a person in another department who may have prior experience in this matter. Step 4 is the discovery and arrest. Now, for the purpose of carrying out this process, the investigating officers have given the same powers of that of a police officer as laid down in the CRPC or the Criminal Code of Criminal Procedure. Now, you might know that if you're a law student that the police force, the work of the police force is defined by two things. One is the Indian Penal Code and the other one is the Code of Criminal Procedure or CRPC. Now, this is a case where in order to in fact go about arresting someone, there is a certain process to go about doing it. It's highly exaggerated in films where, the police just knock on the door and they just take this guy out in handcuffs. Now, by the way, in order for a person to be handcuffed, the court should say that, you can handcuff this guy. And this is something that I noticed in the news a few years ago. And I hadn't noticed this until, in fact, I read the legal procedure that if a person needs to be arrested and handcuffed, you need to, in fact, get a court approval for that. Otherwise, I've seen the police officers, especially the constable, if they're escorting this guy, they hold his hands. One person will be holding the left hand, the other guy will be holding the right hand. And that's how they'll be taking him to court or, exiting from court. So the court needs to, in fact, give you the approval to, in fact, put handcuffs on this guy. So stuff like this. In order for you to arrest someone, You need to have gathered enough evidence. You need to show that, okay, yeah, this guy, in fact, was definitely responsible for committing this fraud. So early on, in fact, once the Sharda group of companies scam happened, the head of the company was in fact arrested in this situation. Now remember, arresting someone is completely different from considering that the person is actually guilty. Even in case of the Sahara group of companies as well, Subrata Roy was arrested long before, in fact, even the court considered that, yeah, this man is guilty, he needs to serve many years in prison. So arresting is not necessary that he is found guilty first, and then guilty first by the court, and then this person is in fact brought into the prison system or the jail system, wherever in fact he is being put. Now, apart from that, collecting evidence. Now, the reason why in many cases they arrest this individual is because he might have a significant influence if he's let out loose. So they arrest him first, and then they consider whether or not this individual is actually guilty through the court system. So sometimes the court can say that, yeah, this guy, it's fine, let this person go out on bail. In some cases, they'll say that no, the bail is not at all possible because this guy is having a severe influence on witnesses if he's let out to, in fact, roam about on bail. Now, apart from this, step 5 is collecting evidence. Now, collecting evidence means to examine various people who are involved in this. Now, the problem with a financial fraud is there are so many people, in fact, who are involved in case of a financial fraud. That's why to go through the whole system and, in fact, see if who are involved, what are these people doing, what were they doing there, etc., what accounting system, what computers, what hard drives, all these things you need to go through will take quite a lot. Apart from that, recording statements, as you all know, is in fact, if these witnesses have said this has happened, you need to have it down on pen and paper, get their signature down to see to it that, okay, this is exactly what happened. Then, the search and seizure of places or any document that may be deemed necessary for the purpose of this investigation. So in case of Sharda group of companies, let's assume that, they put up an ad saying that we'll double your money. If they've, had meetings where in the meetings they've said that, yeah, let's do this. We know that it's not legal, but still go ahead, let's do this. Things like that, in fact, they have conducted in the meetings, and usually meetings are recorded for the sake of, for the sake of understanding internal processes. They would be recorded. You should be able to in fact gather and seize these documents. And then finally, in the last step is formulate expert opinions. Now, apart from in fact gathering all this, you need to have an expert opinion. In this case, it's very important to in fact eliminate reasonable doubt. So, for example, if a person has in fact done some wrong to me, and I need to be very certain that this is 100% this individual has done this to me. I cannot say in the court system that I am 99% sure that this guy has done this. The court does not accept situations where it is 99% accurate. The court will accept only if it is 100% accurate that this person is in fact responsible for this. So that's why you may have seen in movies and TV shows where they say beyond reasonable doubt, which means that there is a 100% chance that this individual has done this wrong thing, and it's no case where it's just about 80% or 85% or 99% that this person has done something wrong. It should be a full 100% that this person has done this wrong thing. So once the investigating officer has reviewed all the evidence collected by him over the course of the CBI investigation, he has to make a decision regarding whether there is reasonable doubt against the accused and whether such doubt is enough to place him before the magistrate on trial. So they cannot say things like, again, 99%, it has to be 100%. So these are the 6 steps that the CBI does through any of their investigations. So a quick recap of this. Step 1, plan of investigation. Step 2, the proceeding to the scene of the crime. Step 3, to ascertain all facts and circumstances. Step 4, discovery and arrest. Step 5, collecting evidence. And step 6 is to formulate expert opinions. So once the court system has in fact found this individual guilty, the individual can be sent to prison for the required number of years as sentenced by the judge. But until then, They're always considered to be as innocent until proven guilty, and they will be arrested, of course, in case they can have an influence negatively, have a negative influence, of course, on this investigation. So, anyway, folks, thank you for listening to me. Do like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching Professor Vipin. See you guys. Have a nice day. Bye.